Jason T. Ingram. I live in the Willamette Valley. The date today is Sunday, January 22nd, 2017. I'm doing a video log documenting a time in my life where I've decided it was a good time to take all this creative stuff that I do over the last several years and try to make a career out of it. And I've been living on support now for a decade. And although my mental health has been really suffering, and I will show you, well, I don't know if it's proof, but at least it's a way I can document what it's like being bipolar. And I'm doing another kind of pseudo-scientific study about what things I'm doing in my life and the cause and effect. And I also like to see how my moods correlate to other things, whether they are therapeutic or habits that I have. So this here is this month, and then here's next month, and it's blank because it's in the future. Here's last August. And if anybody lives with bipolar depression, especially if you're kind of on the manic side, this is when you can really tell I started going into a depression. It was a very intense summer. I got very burned out. I like these charts though because you can put down how much anxiety you're suffering with and irritability from numbers of 0 to 3. And then I get to write down how many hours I slept. And I also added a couple things, like if I'm doing exercise, and then I kept adding to it as I decided that I had more things that I wanted to document. And here's September, and got really down during my birthday. And and then I've also added, these are things that I've actually modified in the file. I did a Google image search for bipolar mood chart or something like that. So what I did was I decided I was going to also document panic attacks and how severe they are. And it's kind of it's not the greatest way to document them, but at least I could see how severe they are and how long they last, things like that. So let's go to November, and definitely had some hypermania. So you could tell in my life there's not a lot of normal. Sometimes it'd be like, oh, this afternoon on the 21st of November, I happen to have felt not highly elevated or highly down, for lack of a better term. And so what I started doing in about October, I started documenting how much cannabis I have, whether it's in edible form or whether I'm smoking it, and also if I have any alcohol intake that day. So that's been really good. I haven't really seen a lot of patterns, though, directly affecting one or another. And I think it's good, though, to see that because for a couple of reasons, not just the cause and effect thing, but a lot of it is because a lot of providers don't take me seriously. When I tell my doctor that I'm a medical cannabis patient, they just see me as a stoner. And once they've marked me in that category, then it's almost like I can't get the level of care that I feel like I deserve. And so anything to legitimize my wellness that I do, I try to have something like that. It's also good to know if I am in excess of anything. And also, I like to tell people, you know, like if it ever comes up in conversation, too, like, how much pot do you smoke? And then when I write it all down, it's amazing how I was surprised because I like to try to give myself, for instance, if I wasn't sure, I think I smoked 3 or 4 bowls of pot yesterday. I like to add an extra one in there because there's always going to be one I forget that I don't know that I did smoke. And sometimes I'll write a couple of numbers in a day because there's some days where I'll smoke in the afternoon and in the evening. And that hasn't been happening too much lately, which is good. There's a lot of things I would like to chart, but there's only so much I can do. The best thing that I've found is I've got this little magnetic puppy dog clip I got it at a garage sale or something like that. So what I do is I just clip it and I put it on my refrigerator. Let's say this is not my fridge. In fact, somebody gave me this lamp last week, and I love it because I need more lighting when I do my videos, and it also is pink like this YouTube series I've done lately is really, really goofy because I put on this pink hat and I pretend to be a church secretary in a Pentecostal charismatic church. And I used the lingo that I used to talk 20 years ago, 15 years ago especially. Some of these people were really cool. And then occasionally they would start saying things that were really, really fucked up and harmful and abusive. But most of what they say is really cool, but they have this sort of Christian church language. And each different branch of Christianity has a slightly different set of words and phrases that they use. So that's been fun, and it's been scary because I'm putting some things out there on the web that are pushing the envelope as far as what I consider safe things to be doing and saying online. And everybody has their own opinions about really what's safe. You know, what's going to really, really kick you in the butt lately if it ever comes down to that. If you were ever like scrutinized of anything on the web. And there have been a lot of people that have suffered with that. And there's a lot of people that don't speak their minds because they're afraid they're going to suffer like that. I have had some cyberbullying about 10 years ago that was absolutely terrifying. And the hardest thing to get over with cyberbullying is when you're being bullied by people that are, one, anonymous, and two, if they share the same views as you and they've judged you somehow as being somehow unsafe or an enemy of their views. So that's one of the things that made it so hard. And I got really shy and I started taking things down off the web. And yeah, that was really hard. So I had to really face some demons and some fears in my life. And it's still, I still have a lot of panic attacks when I do a lot of these videos. And it's just one of those things that I'm not going to allow it to hold me back anymore. I also am sort of testing the waters to see, okay, can I be a little more bold about things? Another thing I wanted to do is I wanted to see, and this could really bite me in the butt, but the events that are happening in my country are more sensational than anything that I've experienced, even more than 9/11. Even more than the stuff I grew up with when I was a kid in the 80s and all the, you know, this is like something out of a movie, and it is just, it is so typical, I think, that people would still be in denial. And after Inauguration Day, it has really been a weird atmosphere, but I think we are seeing a glimmer of hope. This march that happened last Saturday was absolutely beautiful, especially in Portland. It's been estimated somewhere between 70 and 120,000 people. I like to believe that it was somewhere just over 100,000 people. There was more people than the streets could even hold. Some people just stood there and weren't even able to march because the crowds were so enormous. I was wrong. I thought that it was going to be infiltrated by more anarchists, and I try to give myself a little credit because I was very sick yesterday, and I hadn't had one of my self-care days in a week, and I really needed it, and I was depleted of my resources and my energy. It's one of those times I had to retreat because I would have made myself so sick that it would have taken me several days to recover. So it's hard. It's hard. Also, being around a huge crowd with no parking in the rain, that's something I have to be really prepared for. I have to be mentally and physically ready to be in that kind of an environment for more than a couple hours. So, wow, what an exciting time to live. And I'm so excited to be launching out and finally putting my life out there, and hopefully it'll help some people the more I share with some of my struggles and victories.